Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Wine Wednesday. I'm here with Dmitri.
Thanks for having me.
Not a problem, dude. Promoter. Handsome devil.
Average Joe.
Average Joe. We are drinking Sideshow. It is a Shiraz and Cabernet from Australia, and I got it because it has a little puppet master pulling the strings. And I'm like, you're like the business guy pulling the strings in the background.
In that less creepy, manipulative sense, hopefully.
No, dude, you're a very positive force in the scene.
Oh yeah, I try to be. It's a place where a lot of negativity resides, and it's competition turns into hate and stuff like that. So you try to be like the middleman.
I think it is because as someone, so it's like my absolute dream, right? And it's like, oh, I want to be this musician, and it's everyone's dream, and so everyone has their entire life wrapped up in this. And there's a lot of ego, and there's a lot of just hope and things like that going on to it. And so I think that's where conflict is just an easy thing to occur. And then you, of course, being on the business end, and having to deal with money and balancing the egos of bands, I feel like it really comes out on people who are like you, who are really just trying to cultivate a community, really, at the end of the day.
Well, we're I like to think promoters and tour managers have a lot of because they kind of corral the tour package, they take care of the musicians, they babysit, more or less, and it's kind of the same with promoters. You have to kind of oversee, and if anything gets weird, it's you gotta diffuse the situations, and more often than not, if there's trouble, people come to you, and you have to be able to kind of
it's true
diffuse everything and take care of.
You are the linchpin.
Yeah, something like that. Whenever there's trouble, I get called.
Well, before all the chaos began, I kind of want to take it back to a super basic question. How did you get started in the music scene? What was your first show?
This is my favorite story. Before I was ever at the Nile with Mantooth.
That's where I first met you.
Yeah, before anything like that ever started, back with Ezra. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I was a student at ASU, and I didn't really have much direction. I was going to be a journalist at first, but that didn't, pan out how I figured it would. So I went into communications and, just started doing the school thing. And I needed an internship credit to finish up my degree, so I just, I've always been deep into music. I just get lost looking for new artists and songs and stuff. So I sent out a bunch of emails asking if any venues, production companies, promoters, anyone needed help.
Really?
Yeah, the Nile got back to me. But before that, I booked a show with Matt and Toby from Emory.
Oh my gosh, really?
They did a solo thing. They wanted to, they did a living room tour.
What year was this?
This was 2011 or 12.
Okay.
Maybe 2012 sounds right. Yeah.
Okay.
2012, I was living in a house in Tempe, going to ASU, and I booked this show, and they came to my house, and, we drank Maker's Mark together, and it was just this really cool, intimate,
That's still my whiskey of choice.
It was great. Yeah, we made hot toddies, and then kids drove from Las Vegas to, sit in my living room and listen to Matt and Toby, and it was this weird, I did this, I made this happen, and my roommates were nervous about it at first because they didn't really get they didn't understand my music at the time. So
Emory, those are good dudes though.
Yeah, they were awesome, and they still remember me to this day. We talk about it and kind of joke, but
that's wild. That was your first show that you ever booked,
and that kind of got me hey, maybe I could do this, or at least I'd like to work at a music venue because I enjoyed just the energy of it and kind of the premise of just everyone getting together. And it was so, this guy and his girlfriend were just wide-eyed in front of them, just sitting on my floor. So it was cool to see kind of people come together in a space where they were all strangers.
Yeah.
They didn't know who I was. They just came to my house.
That's pretty wild, man.
and yeah, so I reached out to the Nile after that, trying to get my internship settled,
and that's kind of where you got your foot in the door.
They took me under their wing. Michelle, super big shout out to her because
yeah,
she is the ultimate cog in the machine and keeping things going. But yeah, she took me in, and
yeah,
the rest is history. She put me to work.
Yeah, and then eventually you went off to, you helped almost build 51 West.
Yeah, that was Michelle's vision.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, I just, I became attached to it.
Yeah.
After helping with the construction and putting in so much work, and just, it was a family there. Like the people who worked there, and that changed over into Volstead too when Lo-Fi became Volstead, and it was just this awesome family, and I just kind of became the guy that was always there. So, and yeah.
What made you change? Because then, so I remember, so you did the Mantooth. You started working at 51 West.
And this is all under the Mantooth umbrella, yeah.
But then eventually you did come off and you started doing your own thing, being an independent promoter.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I left Mantooth 2 years ago.
Start off the record.
Yeah, off the record started. It was mutual, but I had kind of a different vision for what I wanted my product to be, and I had learned so much from them, and I'm just like eternally grateful. But I think it was my turn to just like go out. The bird has to leave the nest type thing, and the Nile has been that for a lot of people. A lot of people start something really amazing there, and then they go on to take that experience and build an amazing life. So that was kind of my attempt at doing that.
Well, I was always impressed that you went out and became an independent promoter, because you don't have a lot of finances and things backing you up. What's kind of the hardest part about
money?
Was the money?
Always money. If you're playing with your own money, it's
a gamble.
It's always risk, and I've kind of learned through promoting that the music industry is displacing risk. That's the important part of it. Is you yourself don't want to inherit too much risk, so you pass it on to the others, and promoters usually end up bearing the brunt of that, unfortunately. But it's what we want to do, and it's the task we take on. And if you lose, sometimes you lose $1,000, and it's just like, oh shoot. So you have to be,
Okay, so what I think is interesting about that is because I feel like promoters often get billed as like the bad guy, so many times, and sometimes they are the bad guy, and because there is money involved, and when money's involved, everything gets increasingly complicated. But bands always feel this sense of, I'm not getting enough money for the ticket sales and blah blah blah, but I don't know if they quite see, like you said, mitigating losses. Like, it's up to you to keep the security staff paid and make sure the bar is fully stocked, and
gotta pay for the venue, gotta pay taxes, which some people started charging their band taxes. They give them
I get a W-9 from Steve every year, actually.
Yeah,
which is great. Like, I have nothing against that. I'm like, I made money from Steve, and so.
Well, and that's a good way to cover all your bases. But with a low-level guy like me, where I help out a lot of these lower to mid-level bands, it's like after the fact, with taxes, you might not walk away with anything on an amazing night. You may have like a killer night, but after taxes and everything, and paying everyone out, and trying to be as generous as possible and taking care of everyone, so you build good relationships. It's just like working for free most of the time. And then there are big shows, and I was blessed enough at the start to have a sold out show. My first official off the record show. I had a couple post Mantooth pre off the record that I just ran under the radar.
Right.
But my first off the record show was sold out. It was Intervals, Pliny, Angel of Baldi, and Save Us from the Archon, and a couple of local sports, Animus Complex and Protosphere. Huge sellout shows, like sold out in advance, I think. Was really fun. Got to see a lot of friends, Angel of Baldi and Save Us from the Archon, are old friends of mine, so they got to play in front of the crowds that they deserved. Luckily, I walked away from that show ahead. And that set me up for Off the Record.
One of the things that I think is really fascinating about you as a promoter is I feel like, and I've read of a lot of promoters in the scene, so again, I'm just saying specifically, I really like that you're able to, or I feel like you've done really well at creating a specific community of people that come out to your shows.
Yeah.
And to me, like, I think I was 15 when I went to my first local show. I saw a change of pace at like CCV at church back in Glendale, and I was like hooked ever since. And I was going to all kind of shows, like probably like 2-3 local shows a week for the better half the next decade, because I'm still going to local shows twice a week. But a lot of the reason I even got to know other promoters and the venues and people got to know my band is because I just went to so many shows. And so I feel like to you, you didn't have the money to go and purchase big ticket sellout bands, because you don't have, obviously there's promoters like Lucky Man, which just, buys out Paramore and like crazy stadiums.
Yeah. And they've been doing it for a long time, and they've like established what they're doing, and they're the staple of the big stuff, and then it like trickles down, and it's up to the rest of us to kind of, pick up what's left. And money reflects that, and venue quality reflects that, and there are some political things, but all in all, it's like, it's luck. It's who you get involved with at the right time, getting the right bands before they're big. A lot of my bands were just, I had heard about them, I'd given them a chance, and boom, Knocked Loose was a band I had done. And their first show was like 250 people at the Underground. It was packed.
Wow.
And, now they're like headlining massive tours. They were like the big stars on Warped this year. Like, they stole the show, and you just gotta give people a chance, because those big venues, the Lucky Mans, they take care of their big bands, but there's everyone else.
Yeah, they don't really, and I think that's another thing that's really cool about you is I think more bands in the scene get their first start with you. My first start was Bobby, so thank you to Bobby, was my first person to give me like a really solid show, and then of course I worked with Steve a lot with Rebel Lounge and Stateside of Crescent, but I see a lot of the bands that are doing their very first show. They never, there might be young high schoolers, and I know a lot of promoters are really hesitant because they're like, well, can you draw anyone? Am I just going to waste 30 minutes of my night with no ticket sales, no bar sales, no nothing out of this band? Yeah. And so a lot of promoters will kind of shy away from really new bands until they establish themselves. And so I remember for me, it was so hard. I think I started really around kind of like the 2010 and stuff like that, kind of when the economy is really down, a lot of venues are gone.
Well, that was post Arizona bands spiking. Like, it kind of petered off after 2008 and 2009.
2008,
no Arizona
bands. Maine, everyone was up there.
There was no room to grow in Arizona at that point. It was like stagnation, and I kind of remember coming into that.
Yeah. I was playing like literally birthday parties in churches, and like I couldn't get anything. I was begging promoters and venues to let me in, and no one gave me a shot. It wasn't until I met Bobby actually that we were playing shows, and like he was like a brand new promoter too. We were playing shows in warehouses and sketchy bars and like just like literally anywhere that would take us. And he's killing it now and everything. And obviously we don't have those issues, but I know as a young band, I'm not sure if it's as bad as it was back then, but like for you, what do you need to see from a young band to book them or to keep booking them? Or?
To book them, nothing. If you want to play a show, I feel it's every promoter's place to provide new bands, young bands, the place to grow. Because if that was still the mentality like you were talking about, where you're just begging everyone, you couldn't get a show, that discourages growth. And that's why, 2010 through 2013, 14 were rough. Like, it was hard, and the music scene was reflective of that. There weren't a lot of new bands popping up, and if they did, they just tanked immediately.
Yeah.
So people like Mantooth and people like Collective when they were around, and Third String now will take in these new bands and give them a shot. A lot of the times I think new bands are also taken advantage of, though, where they're brought in and just, hey, you want to you want to be a part of this, you have to sell X amount of tickets. You have to do this, and it's you know, a lot of the time it's taking advantage of their age. You know, they're in high school, they can sell a lot of tickets to their friends. After that, it gets difficult unless you're popular, and there's a lot of dynamics to selling tickets and, you know, really cultivating like an image around your band. So you take advantage of that early where there's built-in sales.
Yeah.
These kids have friends, cool, they're going to come to shows. And so you prop them up. And then some bands don't have that. They don't have the huge friend base, but they're really talented artists and they want to play shows, and you have to give them opportunities all the same.
So is that tough for you as a promoter? You see maybe a high school band that doesn't really have their act together, but you know that they might be able to bring a crowd because they're new, they're young, they have an entire high school to market to. And then you see another band who, maybe they're in high school too, it doesn't really matter. Maybe they played together longer, or just they have their set really like tuned in, but maybe they can't sell tickets to a greater degree. So does that make like booking shows harder? Do you have to really like weigh the pros and cons of who you're putting on the shows, or?
Yeah, and you know, you have to address this from like a business standpoint, because as much as everyone wants to give people the, you know, most lucrative opportunity you can, it's not always the case. I can't put every band on a sold out show.
Yeah.
Like I have to prioritize my locals based on how they draw, and you know, I will give opportunities to everybody. Where there's opportunities, I'll give them. But selling tickets and you know, promoting is building your brand. If you have a desire to build your brand and it profits me, then I will continue to put you on those big shows. If you want to pursue this as a casual thing, I have no problem booking you and supporting you, and you know, paying you out per ticket, like making this something you want to do. But you might not get the high quality shows, and that's just because when it comes down to it, it's all money.
Right. Yeah.
And as much as I don't want to be that guy, you know, I'm not trying to. I don't do this to lose money. I do this because it makes me happy, and I can help people, and still, you know, maybe pay like a bill with it at the end of the month. I usually don't touch any of that money because that's what pays for the shows. But yeah, so you prioritize, but you give the bands their chances, and if you have a show that you know is going to do well, maybe you throw one of those bands on it that's more of a casual thing. And
yeah.
You give them that chance to maybe like want to do it, you know, seriously. So I provide the opportunity for everyone. What you do with that opportunity is up to you.
I love that. I think that's really cool that you do that. And a lot of young bands will actually sit there and message our band. And they'll like ask us for shows, and I'm like, phew, like that's not really what it's like. Here, you got to talk to someone who actually books these shows and creates these shows and lineups and puts in the money to front the venue costs and the graphic design and et cetera, et cetera. Do you have any advice for any of those young starting out bands, like maybe bands that need to learn how to sell tickets, or bands that need to learn how to have better stage presence? Do you have like any?
It's honestly all about how bad you want it. Really, it's about working, and you know, when things get hard, you put your nose down and you work harder. And you know, bands grind at it for years and years, and nothing happens, and then you lose hope, and then you get second wind, and you tour, and you know, still nothing happens, and you think it's over. I've had bands tell me this, touring bands, time and time again, just like, oh, I don't know if I can keep doing this. Like, this has just sucked the life out of me, and then boom, record deal, they're back on their feet, they've got this passion, and they catch. You just have to grind at it. You have to go play shows to 0 people. You have to, adversity turns into growth. So the more you struggle, the more you realize what works, what doesn't in the music industry, the more of a chance you'll have, the better of a chance you'll have. And you have to also be super honest with your shortcomings.
Yeah.
You can't be adverse to criticism and advice. Obviously, do what you want to do with your product and your music. It's yours. Don't let anyone take it from you.
Right.
But you know, be aware that there are people who know better than you, and there are people who know better than me, and that's why I listen to them, and that's why you should listen people who know better than you, and at least hear them. And I think a lot of bands just don't want to hear it because they know what they're doing. They're gonna go get it, and I love the attitude, but you can't get there without accepting that you can be wrong, because managers will tell you, no, that's a stupid idea, or record labels will tell you, no, this song's shit, like you need to change it. And you can't be stubborn. You've got to be willing to work and just like trudge and put your head down and go get it.
I agree. I've actually come up against that myself, and I think again, kind of what going back to earlier, where when we first started this thing, is like music is such an emotional release. You see a lot of bands break up real quick, especially when they're local, because it's such a difficult thing to keep a band when it like every time you practice music, every time you're writing music, it is this huge emotional release. And so for someone to come and tell you like, hey, like these choruses aren't catchy, and I don't get what you're trying to say, or whatever, or like these lead lines are too over the top, or they're not good enough, or your drummer sucks and you need to get it better. Like, you hear these things and you just take it so personally, almost like as it's an offense.
Well, it's just like people take it as an attack on their personal.
Right.
Like your music is your identity, especially when if you're taking it seriously, you've probably poured so much into it. You don't want to have someone come and be like, oh, you're a little pitchy or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear that, but at the same time, you need to hear it, be a little introspective, and be like, well, am I a little pitchy? Yeah, maybe, like record your set.
Yeah.
Record your set, go over it, and be like, yeah, okay, he was kind of right here and here. I go and be like, hey, thanks. I appreciate you offering that. You were right. I could improve, and then you take that into your next performance, and you better yourself. You don't, you don't stay stagnant. Growth is what breeds success, not stagnation.
If anything, so we've had recorded sets and things like that, and I just remember going back and like going to my band after the show and being like, yeah, we killed it, like, yeah, it was a great show, and I look at the recording and I'm like, oh my god, that is the worst set I have ever seen. Like, there's no way that that's a professional band. Like, I cannot look at that band and say that they deserve to be on a main national stage by any means. And no, so I definitely identify with kind of those growing pains in bands having to kind of learn from their mistakes. And if you're going to gain new fans, especially through shows, then you gotta have a badass set, like from start to finish. You can't half-ass it. And I think that's something that really kills me, is when I watch a set and I just see someone fumbling their lines, or like not knowing what the next song is, or having really awkward transitions, no thought to the dynamics, Like for me, like it needs to be an experience every single time you play. Especially if people are going to come out and watch you. If you're going to if you have one fan, if you have one person coming out to genuinely enjoy their night, you owe it to them to make that time, time out of their day in their life, and to make it have some meaning and significance. So when I see bands kind of, be drunk on stage or whatnot and miss fills, like, it's not the biggest deal in the world, you're not going to fail at life and never make it big, but
it's the little things.
Yeah, I do think it's those things you need to tweak as a local band. And like, while we are local bands, I think that is what you need to be focusing on every show. You just need to get tighter and tighter and work on crafting your set and work on your stage banter, et cetera, until you have this perfect set. And the next thing I was actually wanting to talk to you about is about touring and things like that, because I know you're doing tour booking and you've booked a lot of bands coming through. Are you seeing, are generally the touring bands kicking locals' asses? Or
no. Well, and that's the thing with the smaller touring bands, is a lot of the times they need the support of the locals, and you don't realize that much until you tour. Like, until you're out there headlining and there's no one at your shows because the locals don't care, that's when you realize that, hey, I kind of have an obligation to help them out, because, if I'm out on the road and I go to their city, I want them to come see me. Like, the best way to build relationships is to be friendly and to build other people up. I think that's what, like, the main issue is. A lot of people are just tearing each other down or trying to pull the rug out from under their friends because everyone's like scrambling for, you know, a record deal or a tour or whatever, and they don't.
You're good. It's just a little message on here.
They yeah.
Don't worry about it. Keep going. You're good.
They don't. They forget that it's like we're all friends here. We're all going for the same thing. The more you're successful, the more I am successful. The more the local bands like build each other up, and the better the touring bands do, the better I do. The more money I can pay you guys. It's just it's just looking after each other, and that's where a lot of scenes like fail. Is they don't look after each other, and people, you know, they say, oh, go to shows, go to this show, go to that show, and you know they don't go. It's a lot of hypocrisy. People wanting, like the brownie points for saying they're about the scene, but they don't show up and support. So you have to help out. You have to help out. It's your responsibility to build your scene. Your scene's not going to build itself.
And I think that's really, I know for me, now that we've been around long, and I hate to sound egotistical or anything like that, but like, I definitely check the bands that we're playing with to make sure that there's something about them that is good enough for our own fans to enjoy.
Sure.
So I think you gave us the like Amore and Polienzo show.
It was
no, not Amore. It was Polienzo and
Idle Hands.
Idle Hands, yeah.
Great band.
And
Rip Idle Hands.
Well, dude, it was, yeah, I remember I was like, I'm not sure if I've heard of these guys, but let me check them out. And I listened and was like, this music is amazing. I know our fans are going to love this. And I was like, all right, I'm going to, as a local, again, I know this is like a semi-new band. They're probably, if I haven't heard of them, there's a good chance a lot of other people probably haven't heard of them. They did have a decent turnout.
Yeah, probably.
But I remember just like, working my butt off and telling my friends and fans, being like, hey, you will enjoy the show. I assure you that this is a show that you will enjoy. Not just because of us, but you'll want to stick around for the headliner. And they did. They delivered. And people's minds were blown from that show.
That's crazy.
So I think that's really cool. And so when you're booking touring routes, are you looking for other locals in those cities as well? Or do you book the venues and let other agents? Well,
I more or less look for the promoters or venues who share the same business model as me, and it's hard to know what they're all about because I don't know them personally, and sometimes I do. Sometimes I can send my friends to another promoter in a different state, and I know they're going to be taken care of because that person is my friend. Pinup Productions in California. Queen City Productions in Springfield, Illinois. Shout out to Seth Keen. Those guys, I know I can rely on them to help me because I've helped them. So you look for people who want to better the band that you're booking this tour for. So I was lucky enough to get Rio. I booked this tour for Rio Wiley that he's on currently. I got him a couple dates with Welcome Home. In the Pacific Northwest, which is really good for him. He's supported them here, so it's just building. Like I'm trying to fortify that relationship. So, you know, maybe next time Welcome Home wants to take him out on tour or something like that, and it's his first tour, so. And
it's going really well, by the way. Yeah. You guys know Rio. He's here.
Big shout out to Rio. Hope he's doing well out on the road. He's playing Oregon. Grants Pass at the Bamboo Room tonight in Oregon. So
yeah, that's dope. I highly doubt we got fans in Oregon watching this.
Well,
but
if you are, go down to the Bamboo Room right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you wanna put your artist in the same vein of people who will help him, and you know their relationship will result in like a simultaneous boost.
I like that. You have such a loyalty about the way that you work. Do you have like a lot of returning touring acts that come to you?
Yeah, and I mean
obviously people like Knock Loose, I feel like there comes to a point they get so big that it's hard for them to like, okay, we gotta move on, we gotta get marquee now.
Well, and it's like as you grow, you change agents, and those agents have different like loyalties to different promoters. Right. So I'm never like butthurt if I lose a band. If they get too big and they get like someone from APA or UTA or
Paradigm,
or whichever label.
Yeah.
However, good for them. I've done what I could in their growth stages to get them to where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And then some bands, like, I will always sing super praises for Silent Planet.
I was going to say Silent Planet was a big band. They had come through
shout out to Silent
multiple
Planet.
times before they really blew. They've been blowing up.
I was looking through my old flyers the other day, and I think I've done like 15 shows for them.
Yeah.
Since I've started, and that was like 2012. And they, it was rough at first. Nobody knew, nobody cared.
Mm-hmm.
And then you form relationships. They've toured with Withered Bones a little bit. Lifelink has Garrett on their new EP.
Oh wow! Congrats to them. They've been doing great too.
They have. They just got back from tour. Check out their new EP. Love Lost.
Did you help them book that one too, or?
No. The Ross is plenty experienced on his own, so he knows how to take care of Lifelink the right way. But yeah, Silent Planet is just I pushed, and they developed relationships with the kids at the shows, and they're just such genuine people, and they become such good friends that they elevated me.
Mm-hmm.
They're at a point where I shouldn't be working with them. They should be playing these massive rooms, but they keep coming back to me, and they're loyal to a fault almost. They're like the best guys. But
I also think that's almost a symptom of hardcore culture.
Yeah,
is a lot of hardcore bands, they do develop these niche. And I mean, I give you a lot of props for really developing the hardcore scene in Phoenix. Like, Phoenix used to be really well known for its post-hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
We had like Chopper Cowboy, Ice to the Abyss, Purely a Stage, Bless the Fall, Ice to Kill, Scary Kiss, Scary Kill, all these little metalcore bands and whatnot that came out kind of in the late 2000s, 2010s. And then our hardcore scene kind of like fizzled out a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it became, I hate to say it like this, true hardcore,
Mm-hmm.
but like less metalcore and more, it felt more do-it-yourself punk rock.
Yeah, well, and I'm not going to say that I built the hardcore scene at all, because
I'll say it. Dmitri built the hardcore.
No, a lot of people were involved in that way before me, like Will Anderson, Michelle, a lot of bands, Jason Anthony, with his super amount of bands that have all been super good and super influential, and it was a weird time in hardcore when I came into it, because a lot of it started when the underground and the Nile were kind of sketchy. We had all those we had like
God, I remember.
We had like Neckbeards and a bunch of other venues that were just like sketchy, and some crazy shit would happen, and the Nile closed down, and I tried to just be as active as I could in a culture that accepted me really quickly, and I learned a lot of lessons through hardcore and through the people in it, but I essentially just tried to facilitate growth through people who already had such, like, Michelle and the Nile will always have like hardcore. They own hardcore in Arizona, and I don't think anyone's going to argue that. And through them, I tried to infuse my own my own work ethic and my own business ethic, and it it kind of rubbed off, and I got to do some cool things with cool bands. I did a couple of Redeemers shows. I did an album release, and I did a Knock Blue show, like I said, but.
Did you get to book the last Chariot show?
No, Michelle did that. I was involved, like, minorly, just helping out with some stuff. But no, but yeah, I helped support that growth. Like, there was already the Nile doing so many things with hardcore. I just tried to pick up the back end of it. Like, how can I help keep this going? And I had a lot of shows that tanked. I had a lot of shows that didn't do well, and you work hard enough at it, and bands will come back, and they'll try and grow, and the scene expands and detracts, and it goes through its stages, but you just try and stay consistent and help out bands and give people a place to do their thing.
Yeah.
Hardcore will live with or without me. Yeah, and it has, and I'm not saying I'm even an important part of it, but the important part is that people, even when I'm gone, give it a place to flourish. because without it, it kind of, in Arizona especially, it has nowhere to go.
It doesn't. There's a lot of venues that stopped doing metal shows way back in the day. Way before any of you know, it was a venue called The One Place, and I remember watching Knights of the Abyss do a CD release there, and a fight broke out where the sound tech jumped out to stop the fight. It was Josh Niles, the drummer from Goodbye Tomorrow. He's a huge producer in Nashville now. Only old people know this shit. But he was like, he got beat, he got jumped. And I was like a little kid who was a huge Goodbye Tomorrow fan, seeing my favorite drummer in the world getting like literally kicked on the ground by these hardcore guys. And ever since, like, that venue and a bunch of other venues banned hardcore shows, like all the Knights of the Abyss and all those metal bands coming out of Arizona around that time. And even now, I think like it's pretty rare to see, like, obviously Crescent or any of the bars, like, they try and stay away from metal shows. I don't think we see Steve dabbles every now and then. We see stuff at Rebel every now and then. That's pretty rare.
You get like Agnostic Front and Northside Kings are doing a show there. You get Trash Talk doing a show. It comes and goes, but it's more reliant on how popular they are. They're not taking on a lot of the lower level hardcore shows. You know, it's like they bring in the money. So where there's money in hardcore, you know, a nicer venue will still take on that risk, knowing that they can mitigate loss and damage.
Well,
and stuff
up
like that.
the staffing on the...
Yeah, and then like there's places like the Nile where that's where this culture lives, and so the staff understands the kind of violent culture and the extreme style of music. Like Club Red still has issues with security and dealing with hardcore shows, but the Nile really has it down. And if the Nile wasn't there, it'd be really hard to sustain growth. Places like the Lunchbox now is a new venue. They're starting to do more punk shows, and that's the DIY scene, which will always be there in Arizona. But there's the Nile and Mantooth are really, really integral to keeping the hardcore scene alive, and they don't have to do it. They don't have to keep that place open and do all that for everyone, but they do, and that's what's key in terms of like hardcore and keeping that around.
Fun fact about the Underground, as much as I kind of hate the venue, they were actually 21 Pilots' first show in Phoenix, was at the Underground.
I remember seeing it, and there was like 30 kids there.
Yeah, really? You were there?
Yeah.
You were at the first...
I was just working in the venue. I had no idea. I didn't really know. And it was like a week later, and Fueled by Ramen signed them, and they took off.
Skyrocket. So, first 21 Pilots show ever in Phoenix was Underground. Second one, I think, was Crescent.
I mean, sounds right.
Yeah, and then because I was never really a fan, so one of my friends brought me out to their show. It was like Marquee. They already it was before Blurry Face came out, but it was like on the tail end of their
debut album.
That's Vessels or whatever.
Yeah, Vessels.
And it was like a freaking spiritual experience.
Yeah. Well, and it's cool to see the bands like in that kind of midway stage. Like they've made it, but they haven't hit that star power type of fame yet.
And that was wow. They were actually on that stage, and they were saying, "Who here saw us at the Underground?" Yeah. And there was like 5 people. My friend was one of them. She's like, "I was there."
Olivia, probably. Yeah. I remember seeing her there. No, and it's it kind of lends itself to the growth of bands like that, where it's like, hey, who remembers seeing us? You know, when nobody liked us, and that's where it like comes down to the Underground. So important. I'm seeing Astronautilus there hopefully next month, who's a huge hip hop influence of mine. And he always plays Crescent and stuff, and it's going to be at the Underground. I'm so excited to see him in like a super intimate, overly intimate. It's they provide a service that not a lot of people can do, especially with like the high level quality of venues. It's not that the Nile's not high quality; they just offer that 2-inch stage where you can just,
it really is.
You can just like grab the artist by his face and just be like, ah. Yeah, they provide something that no one else can. With the Nile and the Underground and 51 West.
I was going to say 51 West. That's the reason I do love 51 West is because it reminds me of that old video I was talking about earlier, the One Place, which doesn't exist anymore. But it was basically just a small room, not bigger than this like office that I'm better than we're in now, and it was this. So I would be just a couple feet away, staring at this artist.
Sometimes your favorite artist.
Yeah.
Like it played a big part in Silent Planet's growth. That their first sold out show in Arizona was at 51 West, and it was just the one before it did well, but the sold out show was on 3 weeks' notice, and they had just grown such a close family because of that. I think it lends itself to bands like that growing. That small stage is because you're just right there and like you can just hug your fans, and I see that a lot of artists doing that. They just hug people, and it's just like, your face touches his face, and it's just like this emotional moment, and that's what attaches you to this band, and it just becomes super real. Yeah. I think it just,
I think the hardcore scene does that really well. I think the one thing, and it's something I take in my, like, I'm very, in relation with my fans, you know, people message us, we always message back, and I mean, it's to an extent, you know, you can't be best friends with literally
everybody,
you know, everyone you meet.
Well, you're not gonna get along with everybody, so it's just...
Yeah, that too, and so, but to an extent, you know, we try to answer messages, we try and like, you know, hug and talk at shows and be as involved as we can, but there is something about the hardcore scene that people just are so loyal and come back show after show after show, and it's something that I feel like the indie pop and pop punk scenes are like
learn a lot from,
could take from. Yeah, exactly.
Especially with places like 51, it's, you know, the sound's not the greatest. The room is kind of bare, but it is what you make it. And I've seen plenty of like bands you wouldn't expect on that stage sell it out, and that you couldn't stick another person in there if you wanted to. And there are hardcore shows that are predominantly like that, but you know, if an indie band is willing to really push it hard, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And get 100, it's only 150 people. You can only fit 150 people in there. If you can get 3-4 bands on a label that can push and really make that experience special, then your fans are going to receive your product in a much different way, because I think a lot of people want to be involved in a show because they're friends with you, they feel obligated, and they come and they don't really know your music, but they stand there and they smile at you and they love you, and that's cool. But if you want growth, you want people really attached to your music, and I think that's important. Yeah. Is being like right there, and places like Rebel do that too, but where it's, you know, you're right there. You see them all, and but bands want to play on the big stage, and they want to, you know, they want to see a big crowd, but it's almost counterproductive in the early stages. Like, a big crowd will form once you've made it. The more you try and be something you're not early on, the better. Like, the more you, or rather the worse, the more you try and like be a rock star from the get-go, the more it's not going to be there. Like, you want to be honest with where you are in your band's development, and you can't be afraid to play like the Underground or 51 West.
I love that, because I've really taken a similar theory to heart. So we try to mix it up. We'll do like, you know, we got this big headliner, like we're these big rock stars, and like we'll just bring out everyone, and then we'll do these other shows where it's like, oh, like last month we did a house show. Next week we're doing a 51 West show on a weekday. Yep. It's with Listener and Levi. Every Levi show we've ever done was with you. So it'll be a dope show. But it's going to be, we're going to strip it down. We're going to be an inch away from our fans. And, you know, we'll probably only, you know, try and bring out like our immediate closer group of fans. Yeah. And to them, you know, I don't know, and maybe this is where I'm failing and I need to ask them what they enjoy more. But to me, like, there is both, I mean, I love both shows. Like, I love that I can open a show for someone like Levi, who I've played with 3 times, because I fucking love him. He's like my favorite poet. And And thank you for always booking me.
Yeah.
I like anytime it comes to talent, I beg whatever promoter snagged him.
No, he's a great guy.
Super great guy. But I love shows like that where we can just be real and like strip down acoustic or whatever and just be there with our friends and fans. And then there's these other shows where like, you know, again, we try and bring out everyone and we reach out to the fringes of our fan base and we try and, you know, elevate ourselves and be like, well, we are a rock band at the end of the day. Like, this is what we can do, this is what we want to be, and we try to put on a rock show.
Well, and it's definitely two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
So, like, the more you do those intimate shows, the more easy it'll become to be the rock star. Like, your fans will come out and bring people with them if they're, like, deeply committed to what you got, and you guys do that. Like, I remember when you started, it was like a struggle for tickets, and you keep grinding, you make friends, and you network like relentlessly, and now, you know, it's just like, oh yeah, no problem, like 30 tickets, 50 tickets, whatever, like boom, 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 like it's gone, and you've refined it. So just like your work ethic is a great example. Same with like the Lifelink guys. Doing really well.
I admire them so much.
And
I think I know Cameron personally a little bit, but I don't really know them, most of them, but I just love what that band is doing.
Well, and they started out and things were rough and they went through some lineup changes, and then they started doing house shows. And that's super important. You don't really think about it, but it's where people come and they feel a little more safe. You know, hey, come to my house, we're going to have a show, you know, it's free, donate to the bands if you want, but, you know, just come hang out, have a beer, let's party. And that developed this like close personal friend group between them and their fans. And so now that every time they play, it's just, you know, people are coming.
You know what's crazy? Okay, so probably one of the people that I admire most in this scene is Trevor Hedges. He's probably not listening to this, but he plays for Sundress. And it's so crazy. You go to a Sundress house show,
it's just like,
and that house is exploded.
Yeah.
They destroyed a house.
Yeah.
It is wild. People are crowd surfing and whatever. And then they'll go and play a venue, and it'll be a good show. But like them at their heart was always this do-it-yourself. Like, they're not even like hardcore, really. They're punk, you know, they're pop punk. Not even pop punk. They're like indie pop,
rock.
Right? Yeah,
they cover the spectrum.
They cover the spectrum. Very catchy pop. But because they're so do-it-yourself, it feels like punk.
Yeah.
Even though it's not, there's nothing really super punk about it, but like...
It's the attitude. Punk is an attitude.
It is,
really
and they have that attitude. Yeah. And that's what I love about their fans and the way they do shows, because like I said, they'll do kind of like us. Well, they'll do like this really intimate house show, and they'll go and they'll play this big headliner at Rebel or whatever. And they'll do good at both, but like you go to the intimate shows, and you can tell their fans are just so involved.
Yeah.
And they'll go and play these bigger shows, and it's like, there's still some chaos to their shows. It's like the way they are as a band. But it's like, if you really want the full effect of them, it's like,
see them at a house show.
Go see them at a house
where
show.
People like are willing to, like I said, it's a more safe space. You don't feel like you're going to be judged. You can cut loose. Everyone else is cutting loose.
Yeah.
A venue is like a strange place with strange people. There's like it's a little more caution that goes into it. But you said like there's still some chaos at like Sundress shows. They still party hard, and it's like
they still bring the energy.
Yeah,
it's not on the band. It's the way the fans interact.
Yeah, and the fans bring the energy too. But like you said, it's not the same. So two sides of the same coin. One lends to the other. The other, you know, are kind of the same thing. You've got to be willing to accept both, and the more you're willing to just play, regardless of what the conditions are or you know what's happening, the better the better off you are. Connecting with local bands, connecting with touring bands, you know, building these relationships is what's important, not how big is the stage, you know, how many people are going to be there.
Right.
And there's a point in your growth where you will have to address that.
Right.
I'm not denying that you know, the business of it isn't important, but initially you got to cultivate like a following, you've got to cultivate an image, you've got to cultivate a repertoire with your fans, and it's just got to be real with who you are. And I've had bands that come and play in front of 2 people, and they come and shake. Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate you having me tonight. You know, this was.
I've been that band.
This was great.
I've been that band for a long time.
I don't care if I play in front of 2 people or none or whatever. I just I have a place to do it, and they're the ones on the road paying for like everything. They're risking everything.
They're putting their jobs on hold. They're putting their
entire lives on hold, marriages, families, whatever. Yeah. And trying to do this. So yeah, you've got to commit. There's no halfway, and if you see the people who commit halfway. Yeah. They fall short. They don't want to work as hard. They don't want to refine their sound. They'd rather just party or do whatever, and they let themselves fall short. You've got to live up to what you want it to be. We got
to end on that wisdom, and we'll do a 180 here and talk about some other stuff. Yeah. That was some serious wisdom, and I loved every second of that. So you are a very well-rounded individual. So getting out of the professional world, I heard you're rock climbing now. Yeah. I heard you do competitions.
Yeah, I did my first one September 23rd. Yeah, at Focus Climbing Center.
Is that your gym? Is that where
it's like Tempe Mesa border. But yeah, I placed second in my first competition.
You placed second on your first competition? Oh wow, congrats. Thanks, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty great because I had been climbing for just over a year, and it's just addicting to me. It's this like puzzle. It's like solving a puzzle with your body, and then you realize that I'm not like my body. This part of my body's not strong enough to solve this puzzle. Like, okay, I have to go and work at it and work at it and work at it, and your hands bleed.
Oh my gosh.
And your knuckles bleed and your feet bleed, and you're just like, I can't get it. And one day, you get it. And it's just, and there's so many ups and downs, and it's about working hard and really like, I've taken it as like a way to better myself. Yeah. And so like, I went and climbed, 2 hours today or something, an hour and a half today, and then I came home and I ran a mile.
Have you ever climbed outside the gym? Have you ever done mountains?
Yeah, I go up to Prescott every now and again and climb at Groom Creek. I grew up there, so it's...
Is that where you're from, Prescott?
Yeah, I've moved around Arizona, but some of my years in Prescott, and they have some good climbing up there, so I go up and I'll spend the day. And...
Were you born in Arizona?
Yeah, no.
Where were you born?
Russia.
You're Russia?
Yeah.
How long do you live in Russia for?
Not long.
Not long?
No.
Do you speak Russian?
Yeah.
Can you speak some Russian for us?
Да, я смогу говорить по-русски.
That's awesome!
Yeah, I don't have I don't have someone to talk to often. Like, I don't practice.
Do you talk to your family?
Yeah. My mom speaks only Russian to me, and same with anyone on my mom's side. But I just don't have people to practice with often. So it kind of...
Is she in Arizona?
Yeah, it gets rusty. Yeah, she's in the West Valley, so... Yeah, I get to see...
Oh my gosh. Any Russians out there, you need to talk to Dmitri. Yeah, we gotta keep this going. I didn't know he spoke Russian.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it's like the hidden thing in my life. I got a bunch of like Russian tattoos and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's something I'm really proud of. It's just like a heritage thing, and I go back and visit it as often as I can.
Oh, you do? Mm-hmm. So you got family there?
Yeah, I got like a grandfather there.
Yeah, like Moscow, or
in Moscow, and some family in St. Petersburg. So like a great aunt or something like that who lives in like downtown St. Petersburg.
That's cool.
So that's great. Yeah, and they some odd relatives here, like some distant relatives who put us up, and it's funny because we'll like stay in downtown Moscow, like a couple blocks from the Red Square, and my whichever family member happened to get that house in the like redistribution of everything in the Soviet Union. So
really?
She just happened upon this apartment. She rents it out for like $2 million a year.
Oh,
because it's
what apartment's $2 million a year?
It's like you could look out the window and it's like the Red Square. It's insane placement, and it's just she just lucked out, as communism would have it. Like not.
Shoot.
That's one of the decent parts about how it all shook out. But yeah, it's communism. That was the one benefit my family got from it.
That's crazy, man. That's
a nice apartment.
I don't want to get in too deep into politics or anything, but does it feel a little weird being like a Russian American given all like the crazy Russian like they're influencing our politics.
No, because they always have been. It's just,
and we've always been doing it to them.
It's just been the East versus West thing. It's always happened. It's nothing different. People just, it's a sensationalist media now, and people get all riled up, and we think.
So you don't have any fear over it or anything like that?
Not really. Everyone has nukes, so when it boils down to it, does anyone really want to blow up the entire world that bad?
Yeah.
It's like a really odd pissing contest. And
God, it really is.
Yeah, and everyone
now it's gotten to new heights.
Yeah, and it's just like everyone relax for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Just relax, like everything's cool. It's a strange time in the world. So
do you still go back to Russia pretty frequently? Or?
I haven't been back in a few years, but I'd like to go soon.
That's cool.
It's a money thing. It costs so much just to get there. And, you end up spending a couple $1,000s just on the trip itself.
Just on the ticket, yeah. Well, that's wild, though. That's pretty cool, man. Well, I'll switch it back to the rock climbing. What was some of the different places you've climbed at? You said Prescott. Have you ever been to Mount Lemmon?
In Tucson?
Yeah.
Not yet. I've heard it's amazing, though. I've heard the hike up there is great.
I don't want to steal your thunder here, but I can tell a quick story.
Do it.
Back in college, I used to rock climb.
Oh, really?
I had a friend who was really good at rock climbing. He was like 6'4". You're probably really good at it too. You're probably like 6'1".
Yeah, the length kind of.
The length helps.
Yeah.
He's massive, huge guy. Like should be a pro basketball player. But he goes rock climbing all the time and has all the gear. And we're like, he was in my chemistry, or I think it was organic chemistry, some class that's super hard. Yeah. He's like, dude, I need to blow off some steam. You go rock climb with me today? And I was just like, all right. Yeah. I've never done it before. So we go up to Mount Lemmon, and we do, what are they ranked at? Is it like 2, 3, 4, 5? Is that how it is?
Yeah, I mean, like if you're working with a belay system, like rope system, they rank it like 5, up to 5.12
is the
as
highest
like difficulty, and then if you're bouldering, it's like V1 to V12, and then it gets into this like even more difficult thing. So it varies, but yeah, there is like a certain level of difficulty there.
It was like this. So we start off with this one that was pretty low difficulty. I don't know the rankings, but the mountain already has like the cliffs in it. So we were going up this like it was already a set path, and I was just hauling ass. So I was like, and I crushed it, and I did super good. And the sun is like just about to go down at this point. And he's like, well, we got one more. Let's do that one. And it was like twice as high. Yeah. And I was like, well, I crushed it. Like, bring it on. Let's do it. And I'm like running through this like course. And then, again, I have no formal training. I'm just doing what I think is best. Yeah. And again, my friend's like this beast. So he's just killing it. He's experienced. And I get halfway there and my arms are like, nope.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't even like a mind over matter. It was like literally my arms were shaking. It was like a biological, like, there's literally no way I can grip anymore. Like, I'm losing my grip, I'm losing my strength. And I was just like, my friend's name was Drew. I was like, Drew? Yeah? I was like, you got me, right? He's like, yeah. I was like, I can't make it to the top. And he's like, no, you got it. I was like, no, I really don't got it. I was like, there is not, it's not about adrenaline and pushing my body.
Your body just
like my muscles are tearing.
Well, and it's funny, just like when you first get into it, it's legs are wobbly and you can't hold on to anything. And it's like
you gotta use more of your leg. My issue was I was just going body, upper body, upper body, upper body. Because I can do like 20 pull-ups. Like I'm good with that. Yeah. I'm so skinny, but then you do it for a mile.
Yeah, it starts to wear you out.
You do like 70 pull-ups.
No, it's a lot of technique, and I didn't realize that for a long time. So I was climbing, just like trying to bull my way through it.
Right, you just try to
power climb it. Yeah, and that works to an extent, but at some point you gotta sit down, address technique, and
conserving energy.
Yeah, you gotta figure out how your body kind of pivots in certain ways, and you'll learn like new flexible positions that kind of work, and it's a good way to get to know your body.
Yeah, doing like edges, like
and you get like toe strength, and you get a little more like I feel a lot more stable on my feet, and a lot more balanced, just based on the moves that I do on the wall, because it's all about like keeping balance when you got like 2 fingers on a hold and you got to keep yourself against the wall.
God, that's terrifying.
Yeah, and you know, I'll do like 2 finger pull-ups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's like a workout to supplement that, but yeah, you get to know your limits a lot better.
That's terrifying.
Well, you get to know your limits, and then it's like one day you keep working at it, and then pass it. Okay.
Wow.
Well, now I've passed that step. It's just like a slow haul to getting to be the best climber you can be, and sometimes it takes a long time. Like I've been climbing for a year, and I'm only middle of the road.
Do you got some aspirations? Do you have like some like certain mountains that you really want to go to, or?
Well, I do mostly bouldering, so that's
okay.
free climbing.
So you got the crash pad and everything.
Yeah, I'd really like to better myself in terms of outdoor, and I'd like to go up to like Flagstaff and do a bunch of stuff up there. I don't do as much outdoor climbing, but I think I'm at the point where I can do it. My hands are just like sandpaper. So yeah, it's just like all calluses. I don't even have tips of my fingers anymore. They're just like all hard calluses. But I just see it as a good opportunity to better myself. And just like mentally, I feel like a lot of people stop at like 40%. Like when it gets hard, you go, like this is hard. I don't know if I can do it. And then you once that doubt enters your head, you stop doing it.
Right.
I don't think I can do it. And I see it as an opportunity to go, I can't do it. I have to keep going. Like if I don't do it, then when will I?
Right.
And sometimes it presents itself in the form of you just for an hour you're just trying to grab this hold and your hands slip off and your fingertips are bleeding and you just like tape them up and you're just like I can't get it. And then one day, maybe the next day you come in, you're dejected because you couldn't get it and it pissed you off, and then boom, it sticks. Oh, finally, and then it's on the next move is probably just as hard, and so now you got to work on that move, and it's just like deconstructing this puzzle that was built for you. And you got to figure out how your body fits in it, in this puzzle, and really maximize energy and strength and balance.
Dude, I think
it's hard.
It summarizes your personality so well, because here you are, again, somewhat new kid in the scene. You just put yourself fully into the scene, not knowing anything. I'm going to go and help create a new venue, and I'm going to help spawn a movement within the hardcore culture. I'm going to go create my own business. And I think like all of that is such a mental hurdle. So many of us have these dreams and ideas of like, I'm going to create a podcast. But who actually goes and does it? It's the people who say, well, I'm going to push past the awkwardness, or I'm going to push past the financial issues, or I'm going to push past whatever hurdle is immediately in my face and keep trudging forward. And so I think like the pure symbolism of rock climbing itself, it's no wonder that it appeals to someone like you, because you see a hurdle, and to you almost look at the obstacle and laugh, and you enjoy it.
I grew up as a kid who I don't like being told I can't do something.
And man, you sound like me.
People, when they say, oh, you can't do something, I'm like, oh yeah? We'll see about that. Like, watch this. And I fail a lot of the time. They tell me I can't do it, and I can't, and then I get mad, and then you just like, well, now I have to do it. It's working through the things that other people say you can't do, and you've convinced yourself you can't do, and then you just take all that and you set it aside, and you're like, I know what I can do, and I know I'm capable, and I think this applies to the band thing, because a lot of people will tell you you're not shit, you're not good, you have no stage banter, you have no stage presence, you can't promote, you can't sell tickets. These are all opportunities for you to like better yourself. And a lot of people in music I've noticed have started doing jiu-jitsu and rock climbing and weightlifting, and these are all like, with weightlifting and jiu-jitsu, you're going to get choked out a million times in jiu-jitsu, and you're not going to be able to push through that last set in weightlifting, and it's like you come back the next day and then you do it, and it's these steps, this progress, and being introspective and just being like, okay, like I know here's my shortcomings. How do I, better those shortcomings, and then how do I better my overall, either my climbing, my playing ability, my weightlifting, my grappling. It applies to everything. It's just this big struggle, and obstacles like make growth. You don't build from nothing. You don't get handed everything and then grow from that. You just you work off what you're handed.
It's like a blessing. And
struggles are blessings.
Yeah.
Anyone who's struggled in real life will tell you that it has opened their eyes to like so much and like how to really apply yourself. And I haven't struggled even remotely. I struggle in my own sense and all that, but nothing compared to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And they have a lot more insight than I do. So it's like this is
very humble.
This is what I offer just through my experiences, and I think I can't really speak about much more than that.
Yeah.
You want to be honest and like, I wish I knew everything. Like, hell, I wish I could tell you what the answer to the most important questions are, and sometimes I think I can, but it's more often than not it's not the case. And so it's humbling to realize your shortcomings.
I love it, and I think I want to end on that note because, dude, I just resonate so much with what you're saying.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
So before we move on to questions and answers, let's give you some promo. What all do you got going on?
Oh yeah,
that you need to share with the world.
Check out Off the Record Booking on Facebook, Instagram, that sort of thing. We've got a lot of cool shows coming up. Later this month in November, and then December and January we'll be announcing some special things. Also, feel free to message the page, email me, Dmitri Off the Record, for tour booking, anything like that. I'd like to start giving local bands more opportunities to hit the road, and any way I can help facilitate that, I'd love to be able to. And support those people around you. I can't really say much more than that.
Support your local scene, and if you're a local band, hit up Dmitri. Especially if you're new, he'll give you your start, and he'll teach you how to become a rock star.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Every band needs to realize that they don't need me. You don't need a promoter. You don't need a manager. You don't need anything. Just focus on what you're doing. Focus on, like I said, bettering yourself. I'm going to just keep harping on that. Just keep getting better. Keep doing you. Keep committing yourself to your project and your passion. You can do this if you commit. The business, the music, the social aspect of it will all come if you just commit everything to that, and it shows with a lot of people. So don't rely on other people to make you famous, to make you better
that's so
performers.
true.
Don't rely on anybody. I'm not here to better you. I'm here to give you an opportunity. So
that's so true.
Yeah,
so true. Because I was sorry. We'll get to the questions here in a little bit. Keep asking us questions, though. We're gonna get to them soon. As a young band, I was so much worried about what other bands were doing, and looking and being like, oh, well, they're connected to this guy, and they're connected to this guy, and their manager is a promoter, blah, blah, blah. And so I was always thinking, like, well, of course I'm never going to get good shows. If I don't get good shows, I'll never have fans. And I think we tend to get so wrapped up with what other people are doing or what other people have that we don't look at our own advantages, and then we don't start working and grinding towards, maybe I need to make a better set. Maybe I need to write better songs. Maybe I need to work harder on social media. Maybe I need to, there's so many things you can be doing as a band. That is not just about the natural advantages. Again, to any young band starting, 100%, I'm not lying when I say this. I played birthdays in churches for years before I was ever given an opportunity. And of course, I'm super grateful for the friends that I've developed who've put me in positions of having great shows. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't for a lack of grinding and working my butt off. And so you gotta pay your dues. Like, paying your dues is a real thing. But don't get discouraged from that. Don't look at what other bands have or or what you don't have. Just focus on what you can do to be better.
Yeah.
And those opportunities will come. When those opportunities come, when Dmitri gives you a show, when anyone, finally opens that door and that door comes, then you walk through it and you take those opportunities. So no, I love that, man. I agree. Yeah, I agree that even though you have helped so many bands, you have done so much for the Arizona music scene, especially the hardcore scene, and you've developed these strong niche communities. At the end of the day, like you said, even if you were gone, it would still be there.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, it's the people who have the passion for the music and the creators of this music who really are going to drive those fans and friends to start coming to those shows.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Dimitri's a great person to know, but he's not the only way to make it big in this world.
Nobody is.
Yeah, it's not just one guy. Yeah,
it's about everything.
Yeah,
it's about the whole big picture of it all, and yeah, it's don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket, for sure. All right, let's see if we got any questions. Sorry, guys. That was a really good conversation. Oh, we have a really busy one today.
Sweet.
Well, a lot of people came in, at least.
More questions.
Clifton says, always good people on your show. Clifton from Mimelight.
What's up, Clifton?
Yeah, what are you guys up to, man? I haven't heard you guys in a while. A lot of people came in. I don't want to shout all their names out if they didn't leave a comment, though. I don't know. They might have just been sneaking in. Anna Katrina, what do you feel the band/management relationship is? How do you define it? So what is the relationship between a band and its manager? So you're more of a promoter than a manager, right? You don't do a whole lot of... I think you have managed before, but not...
I don't like to say I manage. I offer guidance.
Yeah.
Me managing, a promoter managing is at its core conflict of interest, and that's why you don't see it like in the big leagues, as we call it. Like,
I think it's technically illegal.
Yeah, you can't manage and be a band's booking agent because it's a
right booking, not a promoter, but booking.
Yeah,
and
it's a conflict of interest, just like being a booking agent and being a promoter could be a conflict of interest if you make it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just about separating your interests from the artists, and I think really it's important to get someone who cares about what you're doing. Don't just commit to someone who says they have so-and-so connections, because a lot of bands will, Idle Hands. I shouted out Idle Hands earlier. Rip Idle Hands.
Great band.
They were with I want to say Equal Vision. Someone fact check me if I'm wrong. But they just didn't get the press they were promised by the label. They didn't get a lot of things. Their tours weren't pushed, and they fell by the wayside. And they had to break up. And
I didn't realize they broke up.
Yeah, they broke up just after that Polienzo show.
God dang, they were so good.
They were amazing. They're kind of in the vein of Circus Survive. And, high quality musicians, and it's the same with bands like the Body Rampant and Comrades, who have just been hustling a long time, and it's you get a lot of managers who don't look out for you, or a label who will give you a deal and not not put in the effort that you do.
Right.
So it's really about surrounding yourself with people who want the best for you, and naturally it's going to be a situation where everyone has to win, but if you're successful, then everyone's winning. So make sure you surround yourself with people who put your success first. A lot of managers will take advantage of bands, and it's just like the age-old story about getting a bad manager, and promoters don't need to be managers. That's just like a basic just a basic rule. It's a conflict of interest, especially if you're operating within the same state, especially if you're only booking the bands that you manage. It's hokey and kind of dangerous, and it's where bands fail to become their true selves, because they're taking advice from people who don't have a measure of success to offer them. Like, That's why I say I'm not a local manager. I'm absolutely willing to offer you assistance and guidance and
So important distinction is Dmitri isn't a manager. He is a promoter.
Yeah.
The difference to anyone who's not savvy with that is a manager handles the bands, not day to day necessarily, but they're the ones who helps get the band PR. They're the ones who help get label connections. They're not supposed to technically do book touring or anything like that, because then they would be kind of double dipping within the band's finances.
It's a tricky situation.
Yeah, it's really a tricky situation. But essentially, then a promoter is someone who purely books shows.
Yeah. Well, and there are exceptions, absolutely. Like I shouted out Pinup Productions.
Yeah.
They have a booking sector, and then they have a management sector. And they're sometimes the same people, but the difference is they manage people who are touring nationally regularly. They're on labels. They're touring in support of other label bands. They're more facilitators of connections, and they're doing the like advertising for them. It's not like they're dipping into their pockets and the band's not getting anything out of it in reality. So there are distinctions to be made between good managers and promoters who want to take advantage of that relationship.
If any fans are looking into being in the music business, if you are passionate about your scene, then I would say promotion is probably the way to go. But if you're passionate about like a particular band and you want to see that band succeed, then management is probably the way to go.
A manager will find you. If you're big enough, a manager will find you. Past that, I don't think you need it.
You don't think bands need managers?
No.
Yeah, yeah. That's probably good advice. Crystal Crandall gave us a heart and a smooshy face. Brandon Dillman, dude, when are we going to go rock climbing together?
Dude, whenever, Brandon. Just hit me up, man. Anyone who wants to go rock climbing, message me. I'd love to take you. I get guest passes. So yes, let's go.
Can we do let's do a music scene outing. Let's do
a podcast at the rock climbing gym or something like that.
Dude, that'd be dope.
That'd be fun.
Okay.
A lot of fun.
Ryan Oxman last week, he asked me, he's like, can we do it? Because I told he's going to be on here pretty soon. He's like, let's go indoor skydiving while we do our one.
That's the way to go.
Crystal, love and hugs, guys. I got to go take down a burrito. Okay. XOXO. Anna asked when you came to the U.S. You said you were like a baby still, right?
What's that?
She asked when did you come to the United States?
Yeah, when I was a kid.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't remember it.
You're pretty young. Rio's in here. Did you say anything? No, you're not yet? Mm-hmm. Anna's all over it. What type of shows do you love booking?
Hardcore will always have like a special place in my heart because the energy and it's just a culture that I relate so much to. Not that it's a culture of like people who have been bullied and downtrodden and just don't connect with the mainstream culture as well. And it's not I was picked on, but never to a point of it being debilitating, at least to my knowledge.
You used to sing in hardcore band, or do you still kind of dabble?
I dabble. I would do like guest vocals. I'll be filling in for Minor Morals, a Tucson hardcore band.
Oh, cool.
For a few shows, so keep an eye out for that. That'll be cool. But yeah, I just I try and participate as much as I can because as fun as it is to book, everyone has that dream like being on the stage. So
yeah,
hardcore for sure. But that like Polyenzo show, those indie bands who just bring this like just epic sound, this like super refined, perfect sound to a show, I think is another one of my favorites. So, just like a really powerful indie band or like a math rock band even. Like a Hail the Sun, a band I've been working with forever.
Oh yeah, you've been working with them.
Amazing, and big shout outs to them and Donovan Valero for always having my back. Always. So yeah, it's every show has its own unique energy and kind of traits, but yeah, hardcore and metal for sure, and then indie and math rock and stuff like that.
That's awesome. I agree. Indie pop. That's the shows. Anyone got any more questions? You guys have anything you want to say to Dmitri before we head out? If not, all right. I think that's it. We had a lot of people come in though, so thanks for hanging out, guys.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for coming out, dude.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
That's awesome.
This is a good time talking, and I hope someone learned something from it.
Yeah, this is behind the scene. Oh, and by the way, I think this might be my new favorite wine.
Yeah, this is great.
And I think it was actually, and I feel terrible saying this, the cheapest wine I've actually bought.
The cheapest wine's the best wine, man.
Yeah,
This is really, I don't drink wine often, but this is really solid.
This was probably one of my favorite wines ever. So the Sideshow.
Yeah, that was great. Good Australian wine.
Yeah, it's Australian. If Lexi's listening, then Lexi, that's she likes Australian wine. Her boyfriend's from All right. Bye guys.
Good night, everyone.
See you next week.